afternoon, everybody. Welcome into National Signing Day 2025. All right. This day, it's different, just like college football is different now. Just be that first February or first Wednesday in February. And, they've moved it around. And here we are with the first Wednesday in December. And this is the big one. Michigan with 28 players out there and kind of just waiting for these signatures to come on in. And, and then they get published and get announced. And until you see the names on the dotted line, you know what I'm saying there? It's scribbled across till it becomes official. You can get a little antsy, and there are a couple things to be antsy about, which we'll get to. And people looking out. Michigan still might have something to do with bringing some other guys in. So it's one of those things where you have to pay attention all day long to see how this is going to go. And I know there have been folks that I know that looked at today like both Christmas and their birthday. That's how big of a deal it was. It's changed a little bit. People don't, you get the 2 days, and then also with the transfer portal, how guys can just boom, they can poof, they can be gone like that. And then the other part is the portal. It's even, the recruiting, people like recruiting because it's just like nonstop. Like you get these adrenaline hits, boom, boom, boom. And then you're on to the next 5-star. Well, the transfer portal, it's like, condensed even, bigger than that. People go, it's even crazier. So it's even that much more, fast. You get those dopamine hits. So, you got to kind of hang in there and not burn out on National Signing Day. Look at the rankings and where Michigan is sitting, both in the Big Ten and across the country. And the big dogs that are set to come on in. We all look at the big dogs and then we all root for, the 3 stars or the lesser 4 stars. And like to point out, that's, look at how many of these guys, end up making it. And that's coaching and that's development and that's an eye for talent. And all that stuff is true. What's next after National Signing Day? Already touched on that a little bit, but here we are, NSD, and what's going on now. The big news as we sit here right now is the wide receiver position. As the wide receiver position, as you know, very important for Michigan. They got Andrew Marsh this year, really emerged as, Michigan had 3 wideouts that they brought in. Last year, you didn't see much of Jacob Washington at all. Jamar Browder, not too much either, but Marsh hit. And, they got a legitimate wide receiver. And Michigan had 3 commitments that were expected, at this time yesterday, were expected to sign. And now we'll see. They've got 1 that has sent, that he was in, and that is Jaden Pyle out of Texas. But his fellow Texas wide receiver, Zion Robinson, is backed off. And he is now waiting. I don't know if Michigan's not 100% for sure out of it, but he's got Texas calling and others calling. And, Zion Robinson is now, I don't know if you call him on the fence. I think that's appropriate. And you say, oh, it's all right. Travis Johnson is the real the apple of everyone's eye when it comes down to. Now, Johnson has got a 4:00 announcement or signing But as we are talking right now, over the last hour, Johnson, it looks like Virginia Tech, and uh, they are getting the full court press by the Hokies to try to see if they can flip Johnson. And you can say, this happens every the week of signing day. On signing day, Michigan will flip someone, and then they'll get a guy flip, back and forth. You'll flip some, and then you'll get some flipped. And I think that's true. But the wide receiver specifically, it's the biggest position of need for Michigan. And you have just what happened on Saturday. Now, you come here today, and I don't know how much you want to, relive Saturday's loss to Ohio State. You're ready to put that, at least for a day and enjoy National Signing Day. But it's not a coincidence that Michigan's two top wide receivers are taking a wait and see approach here on National Signing Day. After their prize, they watch the prize quarterback throw for 63 yards against Ohio State. I mean, it's eye opening. I mean, they watch the game. And as much as we talk about, when a team loses, everybody's like, that's going to hurt them in recruiting, and everything affects recruiting. A wide receiver that watches a team go to smash and watches the quarterback that everybody, said, hey, look, they're going to open it up. They're going to be throwing the ball, and it didn't happen. So whatever Michigan was saying to the wide receivers and how the future looked bright for pass catchers and everything else, everybody watched the game. And in Michigan specifically in the passing game, they threw for 63 yards. So, that's where it's at. So that, I don't want to say it's understandable, but that's just, the phrase that I don't really like saying, but I think this is now the third time that I've used it this year. I'm going to I'll cap myself at 5. It is what it is when it comes down to it. Now, look, they got a lot of other great players. Do we end up, focusing on the ones that lost or could lose? Yes, because that's how life works. That's how, if you look at the shepherd who has 100 sheep in his flock, and he has one or two over the night stray, well, he will leave the other 98 and go look for, and the focus is on those the two that end up, getting lost from the rest of the sheep, if that works for you. I don't know. I mean, you got to look at it however you can. So, half of the guys are in. I mean, I guess I don't have the, saying that half of them with the 28, that there's 14 guys coming in. And then there are guys that are waiting. We'll go through some of them. I'll look at some of your feedback to see what you're thinking. The people, it's always exciting, with this day to see where people are at. Carter Meadows is Michigan's most highly rated player, a 5-star, number 6 player overall out of DC. He is an edge. His letter is in. Carter Meadows is in. So there's the great news for Michigan. Savion Hyder, another 5-star, the number 1 running back in the country out of Virginia, top 10 player overall. He is supposed to push send at around 4:00. So we're waiting on Hyder. And yeah, I mean, if Hyder was a wide receiver, you might be a little bit more nervous, but he's not. And there's no reason to think that Hyder is going to end up going anywhere. Walker is one to keep an eye on. Julian Walker is from South Carolina. Does his dad work at South Carolina in the football program? strength and conditioning, I believe. So but Walker just visited Michigan. Everybody feels really good about that, but it's at least he's someone to keep an eye on. And, he's a top 100 player. So you're definitely going to be keeping an eye on him anyways. Some of the other top players, great names out of Missouri, Titan Davis. Now, here's Travis Johnson. Now, Travis Johnson isn't gone for sure. It's just that Virginia Tech is, I guess they're asking him to reconsider. They have a new coach there for the Hokies, James Franklin. And so maybe Franklin, whatever, money he has decided that, this is the target and he's pouring it in at TJ. So we'll just have to wait. I hate saying it. People don't like to hear you're going to have to wait and see. I don't like saying it, but I think you're going to have to wait and see on Johnson. I got, somebody sending me a text that don't forget about Stanford when it comes down to Johnson. I wasn't aware, that Stanford was in the mix. And so, not just James Franklin, but also Stanford for TJ. So he's the wide receiver position is one to keep an eye on. Lee, who's in Hawaii, who knows what time he's going to be able to put, when you're out there in the islands. But then you just keep going down the list and you look at some of the players and you're seeing, okay, who's that? Okay, Robinson. This is one that is not looking good for Michigan as he has put his recruiting today. He has stepped back and he is at this time not signing. And the word is that the Texas is making a push for the home state wide receiver. Now, there was a wide receiver in this cycle that Michigan thought they were going to get, and he was really highly rated, Calvin Russell III. I can remember sitting on YouTube and watching. He looked like he was at a club, and he was going to make his announcement. And I forget, it was like something like 8 o'clock. And at 8 o'clock, I'm watching a video like everyone else. And it's like, oh, he's not there. And then it was 8:05. He wasn't there. 8:10, 8:15. And then I don't know how if you can correct me if I'm wrong, it was like 9 o'clock. And he's like, well, it was like he was going to shut down the live feed. And then it was Syracuse. So I think he walked in there talking about Russell, thinking Michigan. And then at the last second, Hughes jumped in and swiped him away. But now Russell today is opening things back up. A lot of people think because he's from Florida that the U could be getting involved there. That's, I guess old habits die hard. It always seems like the U is ready to do something sneaky. I know the money's all out there now, but the U likes to keep their guys and maybe they save their best pitch for the last day. The U is the way it seems. So, that is where it's at. If players commitments come in, not commitments, if there's official signing happens while we are on the air here, we will let you know about it. I'm checking to see if somebody is just the fax or the email has just rolled in. I say fax, like nobody even knows what a fax is anymore. That is under 30, so I don't have to explain that, but it used to be the way people would go through it on signing day. No more. Formerly Michigan Go Blue 1234 says he can't wait to watch this young talent dominate. I get it. Yeah, I mean, It's going to take me a while. I'm enjoying the day. You see them come in, but yeah, that's it. Um, I thought this was going to be over, but apparently it's not. John is talking about Chris Henry being on the table. I was not aware. Now, Chris Henry is a super 5-star wide receiver, and John is saying that he's still on the table. That would be very surprising if Henry, who has all along been OSU, would then be involved with Michigan. So I don't see that. Although, here's somebody else talking Henry. Bill, who says he might not go to Ohio State, but he's sure not going to Michigan. Yeah, look, I mean it's a tough couple days, but I think that you get the skepticism with Michigan and wide receivers, and yeah, I was expecting that it was going to be a great day for Michigan. And in years past, you would see guys that would flip or something, and you would say, "Oh, well, somebody just came in with a bag," when it was illegal to do it. Well, it was not. It was against the rules. I'm sorry, against the NCAA rules. And then it became where you weren't supposed to have upfront money, and so Michigan was sitting in the back, and it was like, but now it's a fair playing field if you have the money. If you've got one of the guns that shoot those, dollar bills out, you could play. So it's even that way. There's no more, well, somebody dropped a bag. Well, I mean, at the last minute, are there going to be some teams that wait to the last minute and say, "Oh, our price has gone way up. We told you that we will beat any price out there, and today's our day where we're revealing that." So another Go Blue, this one, Go Blue 26 future champs, says he's worried about a mass exodus. He says no culture, players posting on Twitter their frustrations, and now 11 kids not signed on signing day. Now I would say, hold on a second. Let's roll, let's take a couple breaths here. I understand, you being worried about some players not signing. The no culture part is you're missing me on that. Players posting on Twitter their frustrations. That's what kids do. I say kids, football players now. And the part about 11 kids not signed, it's only 218. Let's hold on. But there's a little bit. I mean, I understand why you're a little bit, squirrely, but I think you're taking it a little bit too far. There you go. John says 1 in 6 years, but I'm going to flex because you beat a banged up Michigan team. Well, hey, it's a couple days after. That's right, John. That's the way I talked about this Monday. That's the way to look at it. The Michigan Ohio State series is that not so much looking back to Saturday, but looking at the 4 previous years. Sorry, that's it. Yeah, Russell's out there. Future champ says he's not a good culture fit. The guy that just said Michigan had no culture says he's not a good culture fit. And then he goes on to say our culture has been damaged since Jim left. Yeah, look, I mean, culture. You're winning. It seems like you got a pretty good culture. You start dropping some ball games, a little shaky culture. You're Jim, talking about Michigan's culture. Yeah, I do think there's, when you see a player pull what Russell did, we all built in. It's baked in. We know how old these guys are. We know that anything can happen in recruiting. We know that a 17-year-old could be thinking, silver one day, blue the next, and red the following day. We all get that. You got money involved, parents, and hangers on, all these hometown pressures, all those different things. But when Russell played his game the first time around and left Michigan at the altar, and so now we're here on signing day, and he's back out there again. A lot of Michigan fans are like, no, we're going to pass on this guy. I get that. But, I don't really know Russell and what he's torn between. But like right on the surface, I completely understand. Our people are like, nope, no thanks. No thanks with Russell. What's up, Rob? It's good to see you back. Here's Don asking if these recruits are going to come in here and just worry about the 50-yard line, forgetting the goal lines, and taking selfies during the game. Is worrying about the 50-yard line, worrying about after the Ohio State game where the equipment managers had their carts there? Is that what that's a reference to? I don't know. Not scoring touchdowns. I get that. We're resetting that part where Underwood was taking a selfie at the end of the Michigan State game. Yeah, I went through that. I said I didn't like that. I would think that there would be a team rule where Michigan says part of their rules and culture that let's wait to the end of the game before we get any wives or girlfriends or whatever else, and before you're, taking pictures. But I know a lot of people wanted to, send me pictures of JJ McCarthy and his fiance, I think at the time, giving him a smooch when the game was still going on. Say, where were you when? I actually didn't remember. I mean, if I would have saw that, I would have said, I think you just tell everyone let's wait till after the game. But if that's what we're going to do, I think this is what that's a reference. I mean, I know the selfies, where that's coming from. I'm not really sure about the other comments there. GB's got a lot to say today. He says, forget the stars. Get the players who want to be at Michigan and make Michigan great. Well, I don't think you forget the stars. I think you want the stars. You want the best players, but you do want this too. You want the guys who want to make Michigan great, and you want guys that want to go to Michigan. But there's a game you play. It's like, Underwood, if that was, I don't know, Hogan Hansen, who was taking selfies after the Michigan State game, they might have said, look, Hansen, put the phone down. We're a team. But, you had the quarterback, doing it. And, with nobody should have been doing it. But I get this part, but it's not 100%. No, we're not chasing it. I mean, that used to be the case when Michigan wasn't getting the very top 5 stars, because they were like, we're just going to the highest bidder. But, Michigan has their idea whether, they're chasing their own 5 stars. They've got a number in mind. It's a very competitive number. And, sometimes they lose out on that. But you're not forgetting the stars. I mean, come on. Don says we have 98 lost and only 2 found at this point. I don't know what that means. 98 lost what? Michigan Go Blue ZT is asking what my thoughts are on Sharon as a coach. I think Sharon does a lot of things well. I think that they got to a barely passable record this year, and if there's I don't think you ever given anybody free pass or anything else, but this year to me was acceptable. And next year in the off season, if some writer wanted to put Sharon more on the hot seat, I think it's understandable. I think that he is tied to Underwood, and that if Underwood is good next year and Michigan gets to the college football playoff, we're going to think a lot better about Sharon Moore. If it goes sideways, I think, both of those guys could be somewhere else next year. So going into his third year, do I think he's a great coach? Not across the board. I think he does a lot of things well. And he also needs to get better at some things. Those are my thoughts. Pivotal year for Sharon next year. I think some people don't want to, say that. No, they don't want to say he has to make the playoffs, but that's what it seems like right now. Smash. Swiper, no swiping. Stop taking away our Michigan players. Darth says not getting a wide receiver in this class is going to kill us. Now, they got one. Pile. But we're waiting and seeing. 4:00 is going to be a big time for Travis Johnson, who's supposed to make his announcement at that time. And then Zion Robinson, who has pushed away and does not have a timetable set right now. He is up in the air. Robinson is being wooed by James Franklin, so he's at least got, there's a crack open there. It's not a great, like I said, it depends how you want to look at it. You just, look at all these guys. These are great. You lose some, you're going to get some flip, but it's the position of biggest need. It's the one that you could say that these guys watch the game on Saturday and they're like, we're not going to go to Michigan. They're not going to throw the ball. They just run it. Underwood threw the ball, for 63 yards. Threw the ball 4 or 5 times in the first half. People didn't like that. They didn't like the narrative that Michigan was abandoning the pass or was I don't know, protecting Underwood, scared to throw the ball, whatever it was. But these wide receivers watch, they're like, we're seeing it. Perception is reality a lot of times when it comes down to these guys. Smash the Number says Miami is a Texas A&M UCLA. It takes 5,280 minutes to get from campus to the stadium. I went to the 2016 Orange Bowl, and I still am getting home. Yeah, well, it all depends. If you were going to commit somewhere, having the stadium being right next door might be a really big thing for you. I have a friend who went to the U, and he tells me it's the most pristine, beautiful campus in the world. But I get, what you're saying about the stadium. People that are down there in the U are saying, dude, it's 5 degrees up there in Michigan. Down here, we're sitting around in our flip-flops. We'll take a bike. We'll ride our bike to the stadium. Reenan talking about Michigan being in on a corner from LSU. Bill asking a what grammar question? Is there any word on the internet more misused than dominate and dominant? Yes, I think there's probably quite a few. Than and then, I see people screw up a lot. I probably screw that up a little bit. Two with 2 O's or 1 there seems to get screwed up quite a bit. Are transfers going to be more important than freshmen going forward? I think in basketball, it's already that way. And I think in football, that it depends what kind of program you have. If you're a team like Michigan, they got 28, although they lost, so 27. Who knows where that's going to end up being, 25 or 26. We'll wait and see with Travis Johnson or anybody else, but you're bringing all of these players in with the hope that you can develop some of they stay around. But I mean, what are we saying? Probably half of them are going to end up out on the street. And if you're a really highly rated guy and you want to play, it's you're able to hit both. It was Prime who said he's going only after a handful of kids and he's going to play them right away. The rest, he's just going to the transfer portal because he's trying to win right now. There's a lot that goes into that. It was just a couple of years ago when Michigan was winning the national championship and they went out and they brought in like 3 different offensive linemen. And there were people like, there are Michigan players that have been sitting, that were recruited, signed as freshmen, and have been waiting 3, 4, 5 years. And Harbaugh just went out and signing guys in the transfer portal. I was just going to throw them in there. And there was, some folks. It didn't even have to be. I get it. Scar was one of them back then. I was like, yeah, that what kind of message does that send? And there are a lot of fans that were like that too. It's like, you're staying here and you're fighting, but then there's a lot of fans that are like, look, it's a dog eat dog, and if you can bring somebody in that can perform better, forget the loyalty. So I don't know how much loyalty that gets back where you're saying, well, the culture, and what is the culture? If you can find someone that can upgrade your team, who cares if you have somebody that's been here for 4 years and has worked their ass off and, loves the university? Pull someone else in. It was like, and there's nothing, like, I'm not saying that he's a bad guy. Brady Norton, Michigan offensive lineman, they brought him in, and he was from Cal. He was saying last year he was rooting for Ohio State. He hated Michigan. But Michigan was talking about needing some help on the offensive line. I mean, he's no Michigan man. He wasn't. He hated Michigan, but he also was smart enough when somebody came calling, he's like, now I like Michigan. It's a different world now. I not like any of that stuff, but that's the way it is. This is a true line here on the feedback saying that Michigan needs to empty the bag on a good wide receiver in the portal. I think they need to up their bag maybe to the players that they have. And then you might even put plural next to it. But the hard part when it comes to the very top guys, the money and how much. And if you're going to give a guy $1 million, and he's like, I want 1.5. Okay, let's give him the 1.5. He's like, nah, now I got somebody who's going to give me 1.7. All right. And what has hurt Michigan, I think, it feels like it today. It felt like it actually watching it on Saturday. We all understand that Underwood's a freshman and that next year in the offseason is going to be big. But these wide receivers that are watching it looked at him like, this guy threw for 63 yards. And Michigan's no different than they were the last few years. They just run the ball. That's what they do. Even after Jordan Marshall went down, they still ran the ball. People don't like to hear it. No, that's not what they did. The Michigan was trying to win the game. That's the way I look at it. Whatever their plan was, because they aborted their plan and they were in the game. And if they felt like that's what was going to keep them in the game and win the game, I thought heading in, I mean, I said it all last week, the longer that they could stay in it, the better chance that they had. If Michigan was going to win that Ohio State game, it was going to be them staying in it in the fourth quarter, making a play in the fourth quarter, and winning a close game. If Ohio State was going to win it, it wasn't going to be a close game. Ohio State was going to blow their doors off. That's what ended up happening. So with Michigan keeping it close, and then what do you say when, sure, you've got passes and the different play calls and everything else, but when you're up at the line and your run blocking is working, and even when your other running back goes down, he's like, hey, let's go with the third, fourth running back. It's working here. Here's KY, who wants to specifically go after Rutgers wide receiver KJ Duff. John is saying Henry has postponed, so anything is possible. I just want a Chick-fil-A bag. Understandable. Here's more culture talk. The culture definitely isn't what it was. I'll give you that. I don't know why. Why is the culture? KY asking if Houseman is still on the team. Is he playing in the bowl game? I think the answer to the first part of that is yes. As far as the bowl game, if I had to guess, not me looking at the Mason Blue review or talking, I would say no, that he would probably not be playing in the bowl game. He needs to, you just wish him the best and hope he can, find his way wherever that is. But I don't think it's playing football in the bowl game for Michigan. Ferris just wants a Zingerman bag. All right. Don says our culture has become celebrate first and then stubbornly do the same thing over and over and expect a different result. Yeah, I'm not as down. I was down. I get having the Ohio State hangover. And in the game, there wasn't a whole lot to feel good about, and especially the quarterback. And it didn't make you feel good about the leadership and the coach, and none of the coaches, and specifically the head coach. Nobody's feeling good about that. But this part about everything, is falling apart, and the culture. I mean, I think you need to. I don't think it's that bad for me. Don wants to talk about defending the block M. Yeah, what I don't know, Don, is if I was on the coaching staff, I wouldn't have been talking to my players about after the game if they lost. I don't want them thinking anything about that. Meanwhile, because of the tunnel situation, it put the Michigan players in a little bit of a pickle. Michigan, the game clock goes to 0. Michigan has to wait at midfield or right around midfield for Ohio State to exit the stadium before they can go up the tunnel. And so they're sitting around twiddling their fingers. And does it look silly that the equipment managers decided that we're going to put our trucks out there on the block? And however you feel about that. There were a lot of Michigan fans last year after Michigan planted the flag that loved the flag planting so much, but they pointed out a lot, and they were right, that, hey, Michigan, to the victor goes the spoils. If an opposing team wants to plant their flag, they're allowed to. And a lot of folks pointed out that Texas, who had beat Michigan earlier in the year, they planted their flag, and there was no fighting and everything else. So I thought that that Ohio State, there were a few flags. The guys were looking around, looking for their spot, and Day ended up coming out of that looking halfway decent, saying, "No, telling Sharon." I know, everybody has their own opinion about, how that went down and if, who looked good and who looked bad. It was Michigan. You would have to admit, you got put in a bad spot after losing the game because they had to wait for Ohio State. What are they supposed to do? But I don't know. Those these equipment guys, what they think they're heroes or something? You lost the ball game. I didn't care if they planted the flag or not, but it's a big deal to a lot of people. They love it so much. Sharon is not a disciplinarian, and that may hurt him in the end because he may only have another season to prove himself. I don't know, compared to who? Compared to Harbaugh? I don't know. Was Harbaugh a disciplinarian? Bo seemed like a disciplinarian, but I don't think in modern football, I think Sharon, when it comes down to being a disciplinarian, is just as harsh or easy on his players than most of the teams in the top 25. I mean, what do you want him to do? Who should he been suspending? Shouldn't he have been disciplining? Should he have pulled Barham off the field because he got the dumb headbutting and slapped him around or something? So this doesn't make any sense to me. I don't agree that Sharon is not a disciplinarian. Why? Why isn't he? Why would you say that? Yes, the news on Zion Robinson is he's waiting on. He has backed off, and that Texas and Stanford are involved, and they're trying to flip him. That's the news. Well, let's see. In the last 5-10 minutes, maybe something has happened. We have an update on Travis Johnson, not Zion Robinson, the other wide receiver. Let me see what the update is. We're ripe for the picking, someone says here. Well, we're just waiting. Now, Robinson is open. I guess you'd say open back up as a recruitment, not signing right now with Michigan. And Texas is going after him and Stanford is going after him. Maybe it won't happen today with Zion Robinson. Michigan is not out of it, but they also, you could understand why some people would say that he gone because he is opening things back up on signing day. It's not a good sign. Travis Johnson, there's no reason to think that he is gone, with the exception of James Franklin and Virginia Tech going with whatever kind of money that they have, thinking that they're just going to go over the top of what Michigan had. People are a little, I get to being a little bit getting squirrely, but let's go. Here's KY. I asked him to explain himself, and he's explaining himself. Sharon should just focus on being a mature face of the program, hire the best staff, and let them handle their duties. I don't know how he can expect success repeating the same mistakes. I think Sharon does focus on being the face of the program. I think that I would guess that he thinks his staff, that he has hired the best staff. If he's looking out there thinking, oh, well, my staff's kind of half-ass, they would be in trouble. And you talking about him repeating the same mistakes. I'm not sure what the mistakes are. The mistakes, the clock management. I think that's fair if that's where you're coming from. How he handles replay. I think that's fair. What else are we talking about when it comes down to him repeating the same mistakes? Yeah, 9-3 is not flying from here on out. That's true. Rip is resurfaced. He was eating hot wings all day, and then here he is. Yeah, this this is overreaction Wednesday. Michigan is cooked. A-Train thinks that Sharon Moore needs to make some serious staff moves this offseason. Well, I am going to say that I completely understand where that is coming from. He's not getting 4 or 5 years, and next year is pivotal. But you don't want to. Underwood is the one. The plan with him of all goes from there. But yeah, there's going to be some serious staff moves. Any head coaches on your radar to watch for next year's possible candidates that would be better than Moore? Yeah, I think for me, and it's not like I'm sitting around saying, "Oh, let's not go there," because Michigan, that's not being fair to Sharon Moore or anything else. If Michigan needs a head coach next year, then there won't be any shortage of suitors. But no, one does not come to mind right off the top of my head. The Chargers defensive coordinator. That was one that I talked about earlier, but I don't know, is not really sure about that. Green's talking about the Ohio State game, saying Underwood didn't throw it. McCulley was open all day. Underwood had his worst game of the year against his biggest rival, against Michigan's biggest rival. So, yeah, he couldn't see the field. The game was too fast for him. He wasn't sharp, and it looked like the moment was. I say the moment was too big for him. The game was too fast. He played a very poor game. Ohio State's very good. He was down to his, but then the other part, he was down to the third or fourth string running back. Patricia took away, much as I was dogging, Patricia took away his top wide receiver. He got happy feet. He didn't want to throw an interception. It all looked too fast for him. Does Michigan get a quarterback from the portal? Yeah, to compete with Bryce, I think you want to get the best quarterback you can, but let's be honest, it's Bryce Underwood or bust next year. And if it's a bust, then you're going to be looking for a quarterback the following year. So now my focus when it comes to Underwood is getting the best players and coaches and putting them around him. There's going to be hopefully a natural progression and the maturity of being a year older where he's going to get a lot better. You get the bowl practices. Hopefully, he's got Tom Brady, who was at the game and who apparently talks to Underwood during the course of the season. I would think that Underwood having a conversation, maybe he has already had this particular conversation, but I would think that at some point when the season is over after the bowl game that Underwood would text Tom, be like, "Hey, goat, who should I go see? What quarterback guru would you suggest? Is it Tom House? Is it Jordan Palmer? Should I go out to the USC um, uh, throwing camp? All of these different things, and with the thing with Brady, who went to some of those to work on his mechanics and get a look at how to be more efficient. I think he's going to give him his opinion on that. So I feel really good about that. He's going to get good direction, and by all accounts, he works really hard. So he's going to have all of that, and it's going to come down to if he can put it together. But put the best players you can around him. They got a pretty good offensive line. The running backs look pretty good. They need receivers and a defense. Impact players for sure when it comes to it. JL talking about Hyder hasn't signed. Hyder is supposed to sign at 4:00, so maybe I should have waited till midnight to do this show. But there's no. I don't think you should be panicking. There's no reason to panic. If there's somebody to panic about right now, there's two players. Zion Robinson looks like he's gone, and it's not official, but that's what it looks like. So he looks like he's going to get flipped. That's one to be concerned about. The other wide receiver from Virginia, Travis Johnson, he is supposed to sign at 4:00 as well. But James Franklin continues to call his phone. And so that's another one to monitor. But those are the two. I haven't seen anything from anybody else that are getting cold feet or wandering eyes right now. And especially not Hyder. I'll give you this, JL. If some other team flips Hyder at 4:00, then all the stuff that people are saying about they're cooked and this thing's going, falling apart, well, then that's how it's going to feel. There's no reason to panic unnecessarily. Wide receiver is the position they need to improve the most next year. They've already gone through the Hyder. Yes, this is somebody, what things people mess up on Twitter the most. Effect and effect, E and an A. Hell, I couldn't. That's one that I screw up. Sometimes I'll say if it's going to be that way, I'm thinking, can I come up with another way to say that so I don't use the wrong one? Those are ones where it's effect and effect, where even when you look it up and you ask Chat GPT and you're reading, you're like, you're not giving me a very good explanation. Yes, the guys have specific times to sign. A lot of them wait till school is done, go to the cafeteria, and then have a little. Maybe their teammates are there, and then it's a big to do, and everybody has fun that way. Some guys just want to get it over with. Early this morning, sign, go. They can still do all and have all the fun afterwards. That's it. Yes, I think that Michigan's defensive line, considering what they're going to lose, is wide receivers pretty close. That is going to follow there. Stallions handle. Sweet picture of JJ. Now, this is a little bit, not a little bit. This is way over the top. The loss was bad. It stung. There's still a hangover. It's going to last for a long time after Saturday. But Stallion saying something is off. The program feels hollow. The inmates are running the asylum. Like, no, that's That's taking it a little bit too far. I'm laughing, man. I mean, that's a little bit. Come on. Landon says, "Do you think Michigan is making a good recruiting class, and do these players make an impact?" Yes, I think they're putting together an excellent class, top 15, and that's all right if they follow it up with the transfer portal and they're, I don't know, top 5 there, and then you're top 10 when you can combine those two things. So yeah, I think that Hyder and Meadows, two guys right off the rip. Those are the guys that you're talking about that are going to make an impact right away. Go up towards the top. Let's see who else. We're thinking. So yeah, Hyder. Get my picture out of there. Meadows is going to make an impact right away. I could easily see that at edge. Hyder. It's going to be a combination of Hyder and Jordan Marshall next year. That's a nice 1-2 punch. Actually, seems like a great 1-2 punch. Julian Walker. I guess he's another one to keep an eye on, like I said earlier. There's another edge. Walker and Meadows, one of those guys will get out on the field and get some time. Titan Davis. TJ, come on. Yeah, here's the other one that could happen when it comes down to it. Yeah, for next year. The Afro Man, 95. Sorry, it took me a second to piece that all together. He wants the alliteration combination of Marshall, and Marshall. Now look, Michigan has Nate Marshall and Jordan Marshall and Andrew Marsh, and you want the Nick Marsh from Michigan State. So that's what's going on here. Understandable. I went to watch the Lions game with a friend of mine, big Spartan fan. I talked to him this week. But I told him that, hey, maybe Michigan would be in on Marsh. And he said, no, USC. And what I've seen on the Maize and Blue review is that, who did they say? Alabama? Somebody else from the South that they expected to be all over Nick Marsh. But my friend, my Spartan insider, he said then this was over a month or so ago. It was when the Lions played the Vikings, so you could go back and look. He said USC. But I don't know. Hey, Ripstar says we need a number 1 wide receiver next to Marsh. Andrew Marsh could be the number 1, but they need another top wide receiver. That's for sure. Yeah, I mean it's not just defensive line and it's not just wide receiver. So there you go. Dave says, "Man, you're still talking about football. It's basketball season." Well, I hear you on that. It's signing day. The season is still actually going on because we've got the championship games this Saturday. But look, right in the middle of all that, Michigan opens up the Big Ten season. I'll be talking Michigan basketball. And, as much as you like it, maybe it'll change a little bit this year because Michigan's so good, but it's usually Michigan could be headed to the Final Four and maybe have an undefeated season in basketball, and there'd still be half the fans would be like, hey, are they getting this offensive lineman visiting from Massachusetts? Is he coming in? I'd be more interested in that. if you're interested in that offensive lineman from the East Coast that could come in while the Michigan basketball team is undefeated, well, I got news for you. The place to be is the Maize and Blue Review. And to sign up, you go over to on3.com and you got a lot of good things going on. You can get the Maize and Blue Review, and then for $1, you get a membership to the Athletic for a year, complimentary. I'm a member of the Athletic. They got a lot of good stuff going on over there. And the Maize and Blue Review, what I do here, talking with the people, that's what I'm doing over on the Maize and Blue Review all day, all night. So we'll see you over there. And the great thing about that, Dave, is like when you join up with the Maize and Blue Review, and even on a day like today, if you said, what do you think the odds are that, I don't know, or the odds are that Trey McKinney is Michigan's point guard in a month? And I would answer that question. I would say low. I think he could maybe crack the starting lineup if he continues to play and, go crazy. But also with the way the team smashed and maybe that's not a good word, came together in Vegas and looks like one of the best teams in the country, that there's no reason to get too wild with any predictions about, oh, let's move this guy, let's get more playing time here, because the mix right now is perfect. I don't have a good answer. Penn State, I don't have Mike Tomlin. I don't think it's going to be him. Michigan's going to have to max out their credit cards in the portal, go broke. Michigan's got enough money. It's the way I look at it, and I think they do. So if Michigan wanted more money, they should have signed that equity deal. They could have got more there. Well, here we go. Saturday felt like more handcuffing Chip. Didn't help Underwood, didn't play great, but hopefully they give Chip total control during the bowl game. Yeah, I don't know. They have a game plan, and Chip has the headset on. And so if you don't believe Sharon Moore, I asked Sharon Moore after the Michigan State game, so it wasn't all that long ago. I said, Sharon, during the game, how many plays do you call? He said none. He said Chip calls the game. He said he didn't call any of the plays. So you can believe him, or you can say no, because they ran the ball so much that it must have been Sharon Moore. You can say the coaches lie, but if Chip Lindsey felt like Sharon was sabotaging Michigan's game plan, there's big trouble. So look, Ohio State's got a great team. I know that they hadn't played anybody and you were looking at it, but you look at the NFL draft that's coming up, and they're going to have, a half dozen Buckeyes in the first round. They've got a great team, and Michigan was down a lot of players. And what Saturday told me is that they're not as that Underwood wasn't as ready as all of us thought. And even throughout the season, they were protecting him a little bit. They were spoon feeding him. And whenever they did try to put a little bit more on his plate, we saw some of it, like Northwestern, seemed like the game was coming to him. He was processing well, and they started throwing picks. And there were some other games that, Alex Orji thought that he was, burying the ball into the ground. So he's got a long ways to go, but he's young. We all know that. And we just saw the growing pains, front and center. They go back and let Underwood throw the ball 40 times in that game. They probably get beat, 50-3. And Underwood has 4 interceptions. So we don't know. But what we do know is that Michigan lost and Underwood played really bad. So that's what you're going to do. I asked Moore how much he's involved in the offensive play calling. He said none. Yeah. I already talked about Houseman. These are kind of the same things over and over again that we're going through here. Let me get to the end to see if there's maybe some new thoughts. Ryan's excited about hockey. He should be. Hockey's doing great. Doesn't mean our wide receiver coach is out the door if our wide receiver commits haven't signed yet. No, not necessarily, but he's one of those coaches that if you get 100 Michigan fans, now I know you say Michigan fans are reactionary, but they're smart. But Bellamy's one of those coaches that could be replaced, if we're going to be honest and look at it. Michigan Go Blues talking about Underwood flipping and going to LSU. Yeah, well, bye. If that's what he wants to do, he can do it. I would be mad if he did that, but that would hurt the program. That would put Michigan in a really tough spot. Now, next year, if Michigan doesn't make the playoffs and he doesn't really look like the greatest quarterback of all time, I don't know, because he have to look like the greatest quarterback of all time. If he doesn't get a lot better at this time next year and Michigan is in the playoffs, I think everybody understands that he's going to be out. But not right now. That would be a joke. That would be a joke, and not a funny one. So yeah, Michigan, they were sitting there as a top. Let's see if I can get that. They put all those numbers right up top, and where they were sitting. I guess I can put that up on the screen if I want. You might not be able to read it. Hell, I might not be able to read it, but I wanted to get those rankings in there. Michigan is 12th with their national ranking, 4th in the Big Ten. And they had, coming into today, 28 commits. But Zion Robinson has pulled back, so it's 27. And now we're waiting on Travis Johnson, the two wide receivers, that it could make it 26. But it's a little bit premature to be talking 26. I don't think it's premature to be talking 27. That's it. Driving space Coops is the last time he checked is USC had the number one class. That's what I saw. Vincent wants to know what about Soup? Isn't he the real wide receiver coach at this point? Yeah, I mean, that's not true. And, Soup, when he was the wide receiver coach at Michigan, he had a lot of great wide receivers, and he is the analyst, so people say that, but that's not true. Who was the best freshman quarterback in Michigan history? That was Rick Leach. Nate the Great says, look at Dante Moore's true freshman year at UCLA. He had more pick sixes than TDs. Now he's close to being a stud at Oregon. Yes, some perspective is needed. Dante Moore, however, after he was done at UCLA and everybody said he was trash, went to Oregon, and then he sat all last year while Dylan Gabriel was playing. So this is his third year. Do I think that Underwood could, be a fabulous quarterback in 3 years? I do. Oh, just because you don't look very good as a freshman does not mean that you can't rebound and be an outstanding football player. So half of that, and it's good to point out. I mean, all the different quarterbacks you can go through, but it's fine to point that out. But the thing was, Dante Moore didn't play as a sophomore. The one other thing is, while Dante Moore had a great recruiting profile and he was a 5-star and everything, nobody was a bigger recruit and more highly thought of than Underwood. So while I appreciate, people going through and saying, hey, look at, these are all of the 5 stars. There's 5 stars, then there's the number 1 overall player, and then there's the number 1 overall player ever. And so you got a group of 5 stars, then you got, how about the number 1 quarterback ever? How about those? There's how about the number 1 player overall in the class that's a quarterback? So there's only a few 5 stars. Then there's fewer quarterbacks that were 5 stars that there were the number 1 overall player in the class. And then there's none that were rated higher ever than Underwood. So that's what you're dealing with. So yeah, its perspective is tough when it comes down to them. I think we all understand. I think some people just want to use he was 18. All right, fine. And then there's others saying they paid $12 million for him. A little bit of both. JB says Underwood doesn't have a quarterback coach. I'll stop you right there. He does. The quarterback coach is the offensive coordinator, Chip Lindsey, who coached Drake May. So I would just stop right there, but I'll read the rest. Then had a young offensive line that made him gun shy, and he doesn't have a coach that holds him accountable. Yeah, out of all of this, what is true is the middle part here. He did have a young offensive line. And that could have made him a little gun shy. There's no doubt about that. But this part about doesn't have a coach that holds him accountable. What did you want him to do? Bench him or something? But in Jaden Davis, when the team at what point did you want him to do that? I don't even know what you would want him against Ohio State, because he played really poorly in that game. After the USC team game, when he actually led the team and put him in position to make the playoffs and won all those games. At what point were you benching him there or holding him accountable? What do you mean how are you holding him accountable? Now you could say that he was forced to play quarterback because Keene, the guy they brought in, was hurt. And so he really didn't have any competition. So he was a fallback true freshman starter. I'll buy that. I mean, we've seen Jaden Davis play in the spring game. He wasn't ready. Jake Garcia, they picked up from East Carolina. I don't know what he was going to do or where he was going to play. So it was, and Davis Warren wrecked his knee. He was never going to be in there either. So it was always going to be Underwood. But if you wanted to say Underwood, shouldn't have played, it was tough because he was the number 1. He was the richest bonus baby ever. We know that. He was the highest rated quarterback ever. In fact, he was the highest rated player since in this century when they started doing it. Adrian Peterson had a composite score, an industry score that was perfect. I know people like to argue that Rashawn Gary was more highly rated. Well, he had a perfect score, but I think it was by 24/7, but it's not as an industry score or a composite. So another quarterback that's thinking, I could come in and compete with Bryce Underwood. Oh, you're going to compete with the guy that's got the greatest score ever, and you got paid $12 million, more than any players ever got paid. So that hurt the possibility of having competition. But this part, Jason, I don't know where you come from, I don't mind. I'm glad you're here, and I like to talk about. I'm talking about Michigan all the time, but he does have a quarterback coach. I don't get what you mean about a coach that holds him accountable. Again, I don't know. You'd have to give me an example there. But yeah, he had a young offensive line, and that could have made him gun shy. I might be a little gun shy now. Oh, I was going to say, I might not be able to read these questions, but I'm good now. I'll take a few more here because I think Jason has come back. And so maybe he's going to elaborate. All right, Vincent says, are we really that concerned about losing these two freshman receivers in the transfer portal era? Really that concerned? Yes, I would say it's concerning. It doesn't mean that the program is in a free fall. What it means is that those two guys watched the Ohio State game and we don't know they're both gone yet. What it means is they watched the Ohio State game and said, "Yeah, I'm out." But yeah, that's always, you get a chance if there was no transfer portal to be like, "Oh man, this sucks," but there is a transfer portal. So they're all right there. Jason says Coach Lindsey played quarterback where? Yeah, I don't know. Coach Lindsey, his track record speaks for himself. The current leader of the MVP voting in the NFL is Drake May, who he's responsible the most for developing. That's why he's at Michigan. So you want to push a port on Chip Lindsey? I can understand. We just watched Bryce Under. But what I would say to this year, and he was underwhelming. What I would say, Jason, is that I have watched NFL quarterbacks and how they deal with their first round picks for years, like you have. The teams that panic after 1 year, fire their head coach, fire their offensive coordinator, they bring somebody else in, and you're looking at it and you're saying, those normally don't set the guy up for greatness. Now, there's exceptions. Drake May might be one. Because Drake May had Gerard Mayo, and then but that was his first year, and now he's got a competent. So there's one. But for the most part, you want to stay with the plan, and the plan was at the beginning. It's Chip Lindsey, and Sharon Moore, and Kasula was co-offensive coordinator, and that was the brain trust, and that's what they were going to do. And instead of, well, let's just go bring somebody else in, make them the quarterback coach, which you're saying that your plan was crap because you're going to then take the quarterback coach, Lindsey, and you're saying you're not the quarterback coach anymore. So you're going in a different direction. I don't know if they need to do that. Now maybe you could say you just watched him, his footwork, and he looked terrible. I get all that. We watched the growing pains. And so I understand the criticism. I'm not over here saying, oh, don't criticize anybody. Criticize them. Blend in, though, all of it. I don't know what you're saying. JB is back. He says, Dusty May, where he was still complaining about the defensive performance the last 8 minutes against Auburn after winning by 30 points. That's accountability. Moore doesn't coach the details like that. Yeah, look, I'm not, look, I don't know. I don't know what Sharon Moore I thought he was going to talk today, and he didn't. So that was a little bit of a surprise to me. But you lose to Ohio State and you don't make the playoffs, people are going to be down on you. Your prize quarterback throws for 63 yards against OSU, which was one more yard than Davis Warren in the biggest joke of a season at quarterback ever. No offense to those guys. Then you're going to get some criticism. So I get that. Throw 15 million at Russell. I don't know how much Russell's going to get, but you know. Yeah, it didn't work. So I'll tell you, Jason, if it doesn't work next year, and if there's you don't have enough progress and the team doesn't get to the postseason, well, all of the things that you're talking about, well, you're not going to have Lindsey, and you're not going to have Moore, and you're not going to have Underwood. So that's it. So you can. Here's my suggestion to everyone. I would still believe in Underwood. Yeah, you didn't really like. You showed some flashes, but what you're hoping is that when a guy turns 17 to 18 and from 18 to 19, there's a lot of growth there. And that happens. And that the guys that are tasked with the job, Sharon Moore, Chip Lindsey, and whatever Tom Brady says, hey, this is what I would do in the off season to work on my footwork and my accuracy, that Underwood does it. And then, so instead of, gnashing your teeth and complaining about how it's not going to work from now all the way to the opener next year, just say, hey, these guys, we're just going to have to be patient with it. Even though it didn't work out last year, I'm going to trust Tom Brady that he'll give the advice that Underwood will take and what he'll need to do in the offseason. And look, if Underwood's like, I don't like the coaches, and then maybe there can be some changes in there. But I don't know what good it's going to do. I mean, you have to factor in. It is as bad as it would have is gone and looked to you. You still have to factor in that it was just a freshman campaign, and that you have to give it to next year, even if you're skeptical about it. Now, that's my advice. I think you can have a good time in the offseason saying, you don't need to just flippantly say, well, he was a freshman, he'll be great. Because I don't know if he's going to be, but there's a chance he will be. And it's all out there. And all of their jobs depend on it. And Michigan football not the foreseeable future, but for next year, depends on all of these guys getting it right. So if you want to be a warrior, go ahead all off season. Just keep smashing the Chip Lindsey blows and Sharon Moore's can't, coach his way out of a wet paper bag. And then, I don't know, you'll get to next season and then maybe you'll be right. And you say, see, I told you. I don't know. I don't know if that advice is going to go over well or not. I don't even know if I'm going to follow that. I don't know if I'm going to follow my own advice, Jason. So I'm gonna tell myself, you gotta be patient. You gotta be patient. These guys know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. Tom Brady's involved. Let's, they got a lot of money. Brady and Gruden and Meyer have made it clear he's going to be great. Yeah, I don't know if they've made it. He's got great potential. So is it a sure thing? Even though all of that stuff, it's not a sure thing. That's the part that sucks. I mean, if I tell you it was a sure thing. Alan is saying that The bowl will tell a lot if they made some changes or not. Mason Blue Cowboy says he heard that the players were late to practice and the coaches wanted to discipline them, and Sharon said more. This team will go down. Yeah, I didn't hear that myself. I hear a lot of things. I heard about the bowling alley fight last year. You always hear stuff, these guys that run the steps and, the coach, he was doing this. And, so I don't know. I mean, what I've noticed in sports, it's good for a podcast like this. It's good for, I don't know if I put myself in the Yahoo category, but what the hell not? Well, go ahead. A lot of the fans like the drama and the gossip and any little scenario drama-ish, controversy. They like it more than the actual season and the games that are being played. And there's nothing against everybody. It's everyone almost. So as soon as the clock went 0 and Michigan was protecting the block M and everything, it was like, welcome to silly season. Everybody's ready. Let's get some drama. Let's get some controversy going. Let's drum it up. More Sox. Lindsey's out. Let's go. Fire all the different coaches, or at least half of them. Let's get Jolin, the back the Brinks truck up. Let's pay everybody $10 million. Let's spend more money than every other team. And it's not that going that crazy. That's what people, want. They want a winner. But man, we're in the silly season. And today, let's give you an update on what's going on in recruiting right now. If you're just joining us, Hyder, it's for 4 o'clock. I feel like I should be hanging out here until 4 o'clock. I mean, how long? What am I going to do till 4 o'clock? You just keep reading feedback. Go through some of it. Travis Johnson update. Got a Travis Johnson update for you. Let's see. Building our future. Jalen Pyle. Okay, he's in. Pyle's in. We have Wilp Fong. Is that how you say his name? Sorry, I should know that. One of the top recruiting guys in the industry. He has just posted that his source said about Travis Johnson, if I'm a betting man, he sticks. Is Will Fong is Fonger a better? That's what. Oh no, that was what his source told him. All right. Let's take some more. Doc Reel. At that 0-turn mower, I like it. If I could just give you 1 minute on my own mower that I fixed this summer and had it running pretty good. I was reading about all these things to winterize it. Oh, I put a new battery in it. Take the battery off and put it on something that I wasn't familiar with. Like, I don't know. I guess it was a charger or something. Drain all the oil. Or then you could change the oil and get it ready to go, but like unplug all this stuff. And I was like, I have done none of that. I didn't do it this year either. Winter got here fast. But the previous 10 years that I've had this, I didn't even drain the gas. I just drove it into the garage, and then all of a sudden it was winter, and then the next summer it was like, whoa, hard start. And then it started every spring with the exception of this one. And this one, it ended up being a fuse and a battery. I figured out the battery, the fuse. I had my friend come over. I had one of those, I don't even know what you call it, little meters. He's like, oh, here it is. Fixed it 2 minutes. But it's not as nice as this mower here. But Doc Reel says, seems as though the higher ranked players have not signed. Any reason for the holdup? Yeah, that's not true. Meadows was the highest ranked guy, and he was, I think, the first to sign. Hyder is doing, I would guess he's doing something at his high school, and that's at 4:00. So there's no, the two holdups are the wide receivers. Zion Robinson, who's cooled, opened things back up. And now Travis Johnson, who's got his 4:00 date time set coming right up. But also, James Franklin's wearing out his phone. Just keeps calling him. And until Johnson just, hits, I don't know what the pitch is. So Michigan's put their number out to him. Say it's $1 million. Not a year, but, for 4 years. That sounds like a pretty good going rate to me. You could say that's way too much. You could be right. That's peanuts. You could be right too. I'm just saying it's $1 million just for the case for Doc. But Franklin's like, we'll go 1.5. And then is Michigan, is Johnson's agent playing back and forth and saying, come on, James, you want us in Blacksburg? We need 2. And then is this agent like, yeah, things have changed. We're getting 2 now instead of 1. It could be money. What else would it be? James Franklin's pitch, like, come stay home, Virginia, Blacksburg, however. You could be our program changer. Franklin's probably like, did you watch the Michigan Ohio State? We'll be throwing forward passes. I'm trying to have fun. I'm having a little bit of fun too. I know there's some people saying, stop that. That's negative recruiting. We get enough of that. You get a point. This is the Amazing Blue Review podcast. Don, how does our signing list stack up versus Ohio State? Well, not very good. I mean, so Ohio State's always number 1 and always up there really high. And, Michigan is in the top 10. Probably doesn't make you feel good about that. I'm just going to see. USC is number 1. But Ohio State's usually not that far. They're at number 6. So it's actually a down year for Ohio State at number 6. Doc says rival shows 5 different 4-stars have not signed yet. Is that not correct? Yeah, probably. The 4-stars, again, guys have different timetables. Not everybody wakes up and signs and hits send. Some of them wait till after high school. Some of them after high school have a little dinner party and announce that. Some of them like to have fun with the process, and we'll have everybody out at the garage. Who was it last year who I thought it was the worst YouTube thing I ever watched, and then it ended up being one of the best? I'm trying to watch, or maybe it was for this year. I think it was Andre Clark. I'm not sure if his number's in or not, but Clark, I was watching the video, and they got a camera on the side of his garage, and there's a few people that are in and out. But it comes time to announce, and then they forget that the camera was there, and it was just sitting in there. He's at I'm just watching a white garage, side of the garage, and I thought, this is the worst. And then, but there were a few like, woo! Then somebody's like, oh, he's going to Michigan, and I said, that's the worst recruiting hype presentation announcement that I've ever seen. But then his uncle showed the video from a different angle. And what had happened is they had their little backyard party and everything. They had that camera set up on the garage. But if you just went around a little bit, the garage door, which was closed, there were some tables and everything inside. What happened is Clark opened the garage, and inside it was all maize and blue. And there was a party inside, and it was a disco ball, everything. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it was definitely just kind of looked like your little average 4th of July barbecue. But out there, nothing too special. Potato salad looked pretty good. I saw Modelo over in the corner. I was like, oh, this looks like a nice party. But then when it came time to announce, I thought, they didn't really put a whole lot of. This wasn't all that. Wasn't very ritzy, but boy, they just hit that. Once that garage opened and everything inside, it was all maize and blue. And ended up going from the worst to, I thought, the best. Trilogy wants an honest answer. He says, be honest. Are Michigan fans amongst the worst in college football? No, Michigan fans are the best. What I think human nature, not everybody's all chipper and all smiles and everything's always great and sugar plums and all of this. And in fact, if it was always like that, who's my man that sings? Is it, it's not Bow Wow. It's, who's the dude? Khalif, I forget his name. But he sings, all I do is win. Well, if all you do is win, you don't have much fun. You might think that's not true, but you have to know what it's like on the other side to enjoy the winning. And Michigan fans are no different than any other rabid fan base or a very popular fan base. They are going to focus in on the negative. There's going to be a lot of people, I mentioned it earlier, they just love the drama. They love the drama of the offseason. They love talking about, oh, Sharon, look at this rumor that was on Twitter, and so-and-so. And then, oh, this dude over from the Spartan, side he's mixing it up like he always does. People love that stuff. I have a friend who always tells me, you should just throw stuff out there left and right because people really don't care. You can call it, engagement farming, whatever. People just want amusement. They just want stuff. They just want you to talk about the team. Who cares if you're right? Get it out there. And that's all fan bases. So anybody that thinks that Michigan fans, you hear it, they're not happy unless they're mad. Show me a fan base that just sits around like, oh, everything's great. People like the negativity. Either you like the drama. A lot of people that like the drama. A lot of people like negativity. A lot of people, if you don't like the outright, the bitterness of and hatred of the rivalry, you do like, some of the rumor stuff. That's what people like. If you're not, what is it? If you're not angry, you're at least interested in other people that are. So every time I see that, I'm like, was everybody new? Everybody, that's what people like. You know what I found? I remember it happened for more than 10 years. I would do a Detroit Tigers post-game show when I worked in Detroit. This is when they were good in 2006. And if the team won, you get 10 phone lines that are open. And Tigers win, everything else. Let's talk. Oh, Cabrera, he's on pace to win the Triple Crown. What a game. What an awesome game. Tigers win it 2-1. You'd get some calls. People that are leaving the stadium, you get calls for about an hour, but that'd be about it. And then after that, hey, Tigers win. Might get some people that want to talk about a trade or something. Let's go to the next night. Tigers lose for 4 hours. The 10 phone lines? Packed. Why did Jim Leland pull this pitcher? Why is Al Avila on the team? Alex Avila. Why aren't they firing the general manager? Why aren't they? Why is the owner so cheap? All of it for 4 hours. You win, couple calls. And you think about it when you win, it's like, hey, great job. Football's different because it's so intense and it's a week-to-week thing. But just think about even saying something positive. Hey, I'm really looking forward to next year. Well, I really like the recruiting class. You know, these guys, they got a couple guys, Meadows and, Hyder. It's going to be a lot of fun. The other guy's developing. It's going to be exciting to see who can get on the field for Michigan. That's kind of it. I think that's what everybody that's thinking positively has to say. Hey, who are we going to play in the bowl game? That'll be fun. There's another one. We can probably think about 4 or 5 other positive things you could say. But there's an endless well of things that you could go to if we want to go negatively. Start at the top with the coach and then each and every coach. Then you go to the quarterback, you go to every other player, every other position group. Then you can go to the transfer portal. And actually, it's an even playing field right now, but it wasn't. You could bitch about the money that's out there and how Michigan's getting screwed when the other teams are blatantly throwing cash out there. And you could call up or you could start make a point that the college football is going to hell in a handbasket. NIL's ruining it. The transfer portal's ruining it. It's nothing like, I don't care. They're talking about 18. Lane Kiffin's a clown. You just keep going for hours. So the topics that the masses like the most, that is endless. The positivities, there's only a couple of things. And once you say them, how much can you just repeat the positivity? It's almost like with the positivity, you say, well, you hope these players that they get some really good ones. And man, I'm really looking forward to the whoever Michigan plays in the bowl game. And I'll head to the spring and, next year is going to be exciting. See ya. I mean, that's probably about it, but we'll talk to you in late August. Meanwhile, every day you got, you can hit the other stuff. And we're all programmed like that. They used to say, and it still happens with football. It's such a perfect sport. You get a game Saturday, everybody's so fired up, and it's so emotional. It gets Sunday, and then almost every show, they all copy one another. Everybody's the same, and they all demand that you not react to the game, not tell you what you think, but they want you to overreact. Overreact Monday on the game. I used to say, these guys all do the same crap. Why do people because mostly it's like, well, that's what everybody does. Let's overreact. Now, if we were overreacting on signing day today, we would say that because Michigan, couldn't score and Underwood couldn't throw, that the top wide receivers have looked over the last 4 years and says, nothing's changed. I'm not going to Michigan. Well, is that an overreaction? Because there's some truth to it, I think. Let's get an update on recruiting. See what's happening. Saying I would like to see Michigan flips so-and-so. I'll give you an idea of what's going on at the Maize and Blue Review right now. I got the first thread says Travis Johnson update. Second thread, more on Travis Johnson. Hyder. That's it. A couple other ones. Day running his mouth. Heartline to USF. Quarterback coach for Bryce Underwood. Let's order up some food. Get it going. Signing day, all day. Let's do it. Nope. Hyder's going to Virginia. I'm just kidding. I couldn't do it. I can't do it. I'm sorry. Hyder's not going to Virginia as far as I know. He is supposed to be signing here at the top of the hour. I'm not sitting around till 4 o'clock waiting on Hyder and Travis Johnson. You can say, why? You're just sitting around for the last 45 minutes doing nothing. Why not wait another 15 minutes? Because if I commit to that, once 4 o'clock gets here, I know how these guys act. Hyder might not do anything till 4:30. And Johnson, the same thing. And he introduces coaches. He's got the hats up there, the shell game. It might be 4:45. I got something coming in. I don't want to get anybody too excited because it doesn't have to do with Michigan, but it does have to do with the Lions, and it's from Adam Schefter. Lions have ruled out 4 players for tomorrow night. Kirby Joseph. We kind of knew that. That sucks. Khalif Raymond, Brock Wright, and Shane Zystra, but are listing wideout Amon-Ra St. Brown as questionable. Okay, well, that's actually good news. I thought Brown would be missing a couple games for sure. Thursday night football. Ooh. As an aside, I've done this a few times. Sometimes when there's a gambling site that comes on and they say, if you bet $5, we'll give you 150. It sounds like a pretty good deal. The couple times that I've done this, I've done well. And actually, the 1 year, it was ESPN Bet. And it was Michigan's championship season. They came online, and I bet the $5 or $10 in it. So I got up 150, and then I had, you have to bet them in $50 increments. And I hit, 5 out of the 6. So, I had 100. I did great. And then I thought, I don't like to bet big. It's just not, I hate losing more than I like winning, but I didn't really know what bet meant. But it was the week that Michigan was playing Penn State, and JJ and all those guys came out and said, bet. And I'm like, they're just saying bet. I'm going to bet Michigan. I'm going to just, bet Michigan at Penn State. I'm just going to just double this up. And I did it. And I've been living off those funds ever since. Why did I bring that up? Oh, because I just tried it again with some other new site that came on. And I bet. I still actually don't know what bet means, but I'm betting, and in the literal sense, I do know what it means. I am betting the Detroit Lions -3 for $5, and if I hit, I get 150 that I can play with, and then bet the games this weekend. So let's go Lions. Douglas wants to know who's trying to flip Savion Hyder. Everybody's trying to flip him. I bet Virginia Tech is, but here's my concern level with Hyder. 0. Hyder, and I've never talked to Hyder. I just watched his recruitment from a distance. And he seemed to have, from me watching his recruitment, he just seemed like a super sharp kid. Nothing against how everybody else does it, but he had his visits lined up, and then I would see what he had to say, complimentary of the coaching staff and everything that he liked with his visit. But then he wasn't, showing his hand. He was keeping his cards close to the vest, but he gave everybody the date and what he was going to do, and then he made his announcement, and it was for Michigan. It doesn't seem like. And with Michigan, everybody, he was the number 1 running back in the country. So the bag was big to begin with. And I don't know how much, the other teams, so you got $5 million, again, I guess, and how much you got. We'll give you 10. I don't know if people are throwing him that much more. He just, watching his recruitment, he seems like he's totally rock solid. No, like, he's 4 o'clock, and then James Franklin pulls a fast one. I don't know. Plus, if Hyder watched the game on Saturday, he'd have been like, hell, we could have won the game if I was there. Because once Marshall went down, I was better than any of the running backs out there. He might be right about that. Nothing against Cuz. He gave it his all. But if Michigan went with Bryce Underwood and threw the ball 50 times against Ohio State for like 350 yards, and Michigan got beat, 50-13, maybe Hyder had been like, "Are they going to run the ball ever? Maybe I'll open this back up." Now, like I said, I don't think he thinks that way. He doesn't act like that and think this way. So, on a scale from 1 to 100, my concern about Hyder not just being flipped by Virginia Tech, by anybody else, is at a 1. So I'm feeling pretty good. I want to say 0, but I'll leave a 1 there. Now, Travis Johnson. Sometimes I don't know how to relate it. James Franklin just batting his eyes at him. That doesn't seem like that's James Franklin fanning him with Travis Johnson with $100 bills. Going to take more than that. We'll give you $1 million more. I don't know. Money could be staying home. Franklin must be pretty good at these last second recruiting pitches. Johnson was Michigan, woke up Michigan, and then now he's like, I'm at least going to let Franklin, I'm at least going to let, consider what James Franklin has to say. I mean, it's not like Franklin just got the job yesterday. So that's it. Let's take some feedback. I'm sitting here just talking, rambling. Trilogy says, with rumors of Justice Hayes coming back, could that be a reason he's not signed yet? Well, now you're putting 2 and 2 together. That's a pretty interesting thought. When I saw that Haynes, had signed a deal with, I forget who, whatever it was, and then there was like, oh, Haynes might be coming back. That didn't make any sense to me. The one position that Michigan is good at, that is stacked at, is running back. And as much as you like Justice Haynes, you get a guy like Hyder, you get a guy like Jordan Marshall, there's not enough carries to go around. So I would just say that I don't think that Haynes is coming back. Now, do we want to go there where you would say that, Haynes, that whatever the enormous, amount of money they wanted to dedicate to Haynes, and then they thought, well, we'll just take our chance if Hyder wants to go elsewhere, or I would think that they would be pretty open with that. Hey, I wouldn't be throwing a bunch of money at Haynes, knowing they have Hyder coming in. Are they trying to do a dance here, not slow play, signing day, get him to sign, and all of a sudden Haynes? I'd have just to see it. That is a good point, though. Trilogy or Trill 0G. So it's an interesting point. And now I'm going to up my rankings on the possibility of Hyder flipping with that Haynes news that I wasn't considering and putting in there. I will put it up to a 3. I'm worrying myself past 2 o'clock. And then every 10 minutes past 2 o'clock that he's not in, I'm going to raise it by 5. Is Haynes going to play in the bowl game to improve his draft stock, or is he out? Well, that hasn't been decided yet. I would say that his draft stock is fine. Rip, they've got enough film on him. Watch the first play of the second half against Oklahoma. Watch him run the ball against USC. Watch him in any game in the home games of the non-conference. You could see that he has a burst and he can take off. I would think that Haynes would rest up, got a sort of foot injury, I believe, ankle, foot. If I was Haynes and I was advising him, I would say, let's just work on you running the 40. Now, watching his football speed, I would be ready to, before he got hurt, would bet everything I had, which admittedly is not a lot, that he would run a sub 4.4, which would put him as one of the better backs to grab in the draft. And if he really runs something blazing, he could put him, close to the first round, probably second round. I'm talking if he just went nuts, sub, 4.35 or something. That, I mean, you see it. You see that football speed. But the first 3 rounds, third rounder, I think if we were had to put a grade on him right now, if he came out and ran a sub 4.4 or a 4.4. But that's what it's about. He has shown, I think he's got the tape. And they'll know about his foot if he goes out there and runs well. We got breaking news from the doc, and he says Matt Ludwig is in. Well, Doc, I see you mowing the lawn there. And while I believe what you have to say, I'm going to have to double check you. And we got Aiden Reeder is in. That's been a couple minutes ago. Vallejo in. That was a few minutes ago, too. Let's see. Markel. Dabney, he's in. Jamarian Vincent, welcome home. So, actually, I hadn't seen your boy yet on here. That's just mean. It's not happening. Don says we need Haynes in a bowl game. Otherwise, the offense is stagnant, assuming Jordan Marshall may not be 100%. Yeah, here's the thing for me with the bowl game. I'd rather Haynes just go pro. And the thing about Marshall, I hate to say this because I am going to enjoy the bowl game. I'm going to watch the bowl game. Look, last year's bowl game, the ReliaQuest Bowl, was very enjoyable. Alabama was playing all the starters. Michigan was playing their second team, and Michigan shut down Ryan Williams and obviously Milroe, and it was a fun bowl game. But guys should just be heading to the pros, and we should be thinking about next year. And winning the bowl game, I want to win the bowl game because winning the bowl game, you lose the bowl game, it gives a bad taste in your mouth. But we have moved to the spot where the bowl games don't matter that much. Not that big of a deal. That's it. I don't know what somebody, I read some of these, or somebody just trying to get me fired up on some things. This would be getting me fired up. This would be a cause for concern. But let's just check it out. It's either one of those things that happen on Twitter or a completely meltdown. Let's see. Let's see which one it is. Savion Hyder. He is in the... Here's someone from a Virginia Tech sports enthusiast. Hokies are currently trying to flip 3 Michigan commitments. Not only do they want Travis Johnson, according to this Hokie fan, they want Andre Clark. Who I think Clark was the one that I talked about with the video. And they also have Hyder. Although Hyder, in the same little thread, now that I look down, he was excited to be back in Ann Arbor for the weekend. Yeah, so let's had a great time. Mm-mm. Let's just wait on Hyder. That's what we're waiting on. Hit the latest. Let's see. It's 4 o'clock. Where's he at? Hyder. Refresh. Not happening. Are we get the video? Let's see. We might have a video. I could probably bring that up. Stay with me, folks. Let's do it. Throw that one in there. What's next? Maybe a Savion Hyder video. Let's see. Put it up there. I'm going to see. Should I go Travis Johnson? One thing is, I don't know who is who when it comes down to who will be announcing first. Let's just see what happens. Let's just see if I can get a video from Hyder's team. Commitment, Michigan. Let's see. Football highlights. Sounds pretty good. This is weeks ago. Maybe it doesn't have his. Oh, could be on IG. Is that what I'm thinking? Season highlights. Let's see. Doc says he thinks the 3 losses hurt us in recruiting. I don't know. Yeah, it's a little early to be talking about. Well, I'm just waiting to see. Let's just hang on a second. Let's go to Instagram. That's where it could be going down. It goes down not only in the DMs, but it goes down. Oh, here he is. He's got a pretty cool page. I'll tell you that. That's not actually him. Savion Hyder. Accounts. No, he doesn't have. All right. Just talking out loud. I'll admit it might take me a little longer. Doesn't seem like he's on. It seems like he's a Twitter guy. I like it. That's happening. Michigan just got a running back in. That just happened. Oh, Brown. All right. Jonathan Brown looks like he's in. If I were a recruit, this is from Linda, I would think that I could help the team by signing with Michigan. You know, the one thing I found with recruiting and you talk to the players, guys, what do we think the list is of things that they want? It used to be to win, get an education. Let's put those aside. No, I'm just kidding. Money is going to be a factor. I mean, it's definitely a factor. Is it number one? Michigan was trying to, I was going to say sell, but you know, they talked about if the first thing out of a kid's mouth is how much money he's going to make, then maybe they're going to cool on him. Maybe they've changed that approach because if you're going after the very top guys, if my kid was a 5-star and was the number one player, I would say, let's not, lead with the money. That'll be there. Let's talk about the education. I mean, the education's important. Let's talk about being a team guy and winning and an education. Those two things. Ask about the campus life. No, I don't know. That's what you don't come out and say. What is it? Yeah, I didn't check to see Johnson, but I'm guessing that it's going to be all over here, and we're going to be able to find out. Let's see. You know what I'm not doing is I was not. This was my mistake. I was not looking at the Maize and Blue review. I was just looking for some videos where everybody's sitting around. They probably have it. Jonathan Brown in. Jonathan Brown, running back. Who cares about Hyder? Jonathan Brown's in. Jonathan Brown could be just as good as Hyder. Travis Johnson has not signed. He's supposed to here at 4:00. So that's what's going on there. Let's type his name in and see what kind of responses that we get. Probably going to be all like James Franklin, Travis Johnson. I like a nice, easy, no drama signing day. Yeah, the top guy, but this hokey guy is getting all the top. Here's another guy, sources. He's got 39 followers. I'm not reading his. I'm not reading his. Here we go. Now here's the Michigan man. This is Matthew has the inside. Matthew, tell us all how worried we should be about Travis Johnson, Zion Robinson, and now Hyder. Now, Hyder, I was telling everybody not to be worried about, but everybody said, well, what about Haynes? He's coming back. Franklin's putting the full court press on him. Give me those three guys. Zion Robinson, Travis Johnson, Savion Hyder. Now, look at both Johnson and Hyder are supposed to have 4:00 announcements. It's 4:07. I am upping my flip. It was at a 3 out of 100. It's at an 8 now. That's not danger zone yet. That's not moving the DEFCONs up, or I guess it is. DEFCON 1's bad, but it's DEFCON 5 is really bad when it comes down to that. So that's it. Yeah, John's talking about stuff that's going on New Year's Eve, not today. Yeah, Hyder was set. I was set to go get a big pepperoni pizza at 4:30, and look at me. I'm just sitting around, and things have changed. John, I'm just messing with you. I don't even know what to say. Douglas is excited about Hyder. No, I don't think you can be worried. I think you can bump the worry up a little bit, but that's just for the sake of drama. I've got no actual like hard news about it. It's just the worry is the worry meter. And the feed, go get the pizza. I was just joking about the pizza. All right, Matthew is weighing in. Let's see what he's saying. He doesn't think that we have anything to worry about. He's not even worried about Zion. He just thinks he's taking a little bit to see what the other programs have to offer, but we'll end up a Wolverine. How about that? Take it to the bank. Matthew still feels good about Zion. Loaded at running back. Did you watch the LSU game? I mean, I was there, but I wasn't really watching. I'm just kidding. I watched. Now we're getting Michigan needs wide receivers. We do have somebody telling us to go to the Michigan football signing page. Nothing about Hyder yet. Andrew is saying it's done, but I don't see it. Not happening. I do not see the. Of course, I'm looking at the places I shouldn't be. Let me get an official look. So it would be big. Jonathan Brown is in. Yeah, I don't know. Andrew, you're getting a little bit. You're out there in LA. I mean, he is telling me where to go. Can take people. Just not happening yet. Savion, it's supposed to be happening here. I'm thinking that, you get Travis Johnson, then you get Savion Hyder, and then it's going to be good. We're getting some blowback on, that he has signed. Now we see that people are saying, no, he has not. Oh, I'm just refreshing. Yeah, there you go, Doc. Definitely subscribe to, we would love to see you over at the Maize and Blue Review. If you want to take your Michigan fandom to the next level, that's the way to do it, to be honest with you. And then now Andrew's saying it's on Twitter. This is what we call doubling down. Doubling down, Travis Johnson. He's got Michigan. I see somebody saying that he has Michigan gear. He arrives at the table wearing Michigan gear. That's a good sign. Michigan football. Travis Johnson has officially signed. There it is. Now, boom. Let's credit our man here who seemed like he was a few minutes in front of everybody. Here he is. Andrew, you're on the Savion Hyder now. Johnson's in. That's a good news. James Franklin is in shambles in Blacksburg right now. He was targeting him. He was trying to flip him. Fending off a late push. Now, maybe Franklin went right from Johnson. Now he's blowing up Hyder's phone. Now he's hitting Clark's phone. That's all he can do. What's Fitz doing up at Michigan State? He's still pumping up the crowd. Let's go! All right. Yeah, it's all there now. Woo! Hokies. You do a little hokey pokey. They were turning around. I was wearing I felt like maybe I should be changing my shirt. But I had to pull it off. If TJ went to the Hokies. Exactly. Franklin is scum. Let's go. Let's get our man on the Hyder case. What do you see there? These guys coordinating? Because Hyder was supposed to be in it for as well. And so if you're just joining us, there was a little bit of drama. With Travis Johnson. And that drama was amped up by the fellow wide receiver commitment, Zion Robinson, who pushed away from the table and is not signing today. That was the latest. And the thought there was Texas and even Stanford is now out there for Zion Robinson. So then, but Travis Johnson, all of a sudden, James Franklin and his cronies are like, at least fill social media that we're trying to flip all these players. We're trying to flip. And so he's 0 for 1. He was trying to flip. James Franklin was just like he'll be, just like, say what did he ended up being? 1-6, 1-7 against Michigan. Whatever. It was he did get that one. He might have got more than one. All right, he got one. Travis in Michigan gear. Now we're on to Hyder. On to Hyder. That's what we're waiting for now. And let's see what's next. Travis Johnson, building our future. They put a brick. So is it one brick at a time? So pretty easy for me to figure that one out. No code there. I remember that Saquon Barkley game. I didn't like that one. Doc is saying from his experience that if you don't get a guy today, you more than likely won't get him. I would say that if a guy is what you're saying, if a guy was committed like Zion Robinson and then he pushes away and opens things back up, that you won't get him. I think that is true. Now we're talking Clark. Now I got to worry about Clark. This is the way it goes. You're on Travis Johnson, but then once he's in, you're like, all right, what about Hyder? And then you start to feel good about Hyder. What about Clark? What I'm going to do is put oops, I don't know what I did. Starting to type stuff in, and I went away from where I was at. Can I put little eyeballs on here? That's what I want to know. Maybe. I don't know how to do it. This was my big move. We're on Savion Hyder watch. That's what we're doing right now. Here on the Maize and Blue review. Yeah, brick by brick. Douglas throwing the rumors out there. I saw this rumor that Franklin was making a push at Hyder, Clark, and Travis Johnson. So he's 0 for 1. 2 top 10 Virginia guys. Well, if Franklin, what's Franklin going to do? He can't just be sitting back drinking wine like, who cares? Yeah, that's what he should be doing. He should make a push for Clark and Hyder, and he should strike out on all 3. Strike 3, James. Right. Let's do it. What about Marky Walbridge? Yeah, I think I'll have to go through. Let me see if I got the list of all of the guys. Let me just zip through guys. Vallejo in. Aiden Reeder in. Who else? Deleted. Jalen Pyle. There's a wide receiver, second one. More Pyle. I don't know if I can go through the whole list. Maybe I'll just wait. Somebody. Two more on Travis Johnson. No more. He's in. So, according to Ryan, they are like brothers. Who? Oh, Hyder is super close to Bryce. Ooh. Well, Ryan, if you know so much, what about Marky? What about Marky Walbridge? What's he waiting for? Guess we'll have to see. Marky Walbridge, I was going to say maybe he's a West Coast guy, but I think he's Massachusetts. That's not where he's from, so it's not that. I guess we're just going to have to wait and see what's going to happen with. Oh, this is a good point. I like this point. Hyder, you remember it was August the 19th that he signed with Michigan, and that was the official Michigan holiday that I proclaimed August the 19th. Bryce Underwood's birthday, Savion Hyder's commitment day. Those two things, that's what makes it a special Michigan day. Waiting for Walbridge. Walker was one that you were going to monitor because his dad works for South Carolina football in the weight room. So that's what's up there. Now we've got this going on. We've got this going on. This could be the end of this podcast if this is the way it's going to go. Let's just wait and see if it happens or not. Steve Sarkisian. That's not what I want to see. Savion Hyder. A lot of people saying it's happening, happening. Ryan says it's happening. Here's Douglas saying that it's happened. Here's some guy who's got a couple hundred talking about Michigan losing out. Yeah, maybe I'm just a little slow. I mean, so even Rip is saying it. Rip is saying it. Let's see what we can do here with getting the confirmation up. To answer a million Savion Hyder questions, be patient. I don't know where this information is coming from. I saw this is some guy. He had a couple hundred followers. He said that Clark was gone, but that doesn't mean that that's happening. Let's see. Somebody wanted a rundown. Let's see if we got a rundown on who's in and who's not so far. We might be able to do that. Let's see. And so to be able to do that, I have to go over here. And I need to share the screen, though, don't I? It can be done. Clark was waiting on Hyder. I see the feedback over here. Linda Joe saying that Julian Walker is going to wait now until tomorrow. Yeah, so let's just wait and see about all of this. I'm making myself laugh. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to read that. I don't know if I am going to be able to. Let's just see what happens. Oh, it has the sign down there. So this just went up. Can I make it bigger? I can. So Meadows signed. Hyder, we're waiting for. Although everybody here makes it seem like it has happened. And yet, I cannot confirm that. Walker, nothing yet. Maybe tomorrow. Titan Davis, signed. There you go. Travis Johnson, signed. Malachi Lee, signed. Jamarian Vincent, signed. Alistair Vallejo, signed. Zion Robinson, Matt Ludwig, signed. Andre Clark, Marky Walbridge, Mikhail Blade, signed. Jordan Deck, signed. Brady Smigel, signed. Mason Bonner, signed. Adrian Hamilton, signed. Bear McWhorter, signed. Tommy Carr, signed. Adam Reeder, in. Tariq Boney, he's in. Markel Dabney, in. Brown is in. Tommy Frauman, in. Caden Catchings, in. Jalen Pyle. Now, it doesn't say here that he signed, but I saw that he had, so I'm going to say he's in. Micah Drescher, signed. Colton Dermer, long snapper, holding out. No, he's signed. So from the looks of things, there's only a few that we are all waiting on. And so we are waiting on Hyder, even though everybody's saying he's in here. I don't see it. Waiting on Hyder, Walker, Robinson, and Clark, and Walbridge. That's it. I don't know who these people are that you're saying. I mean, I would say don't put like our rival people up there, but I don't know. I mean, I don't even know who this dude is. So, but maybe I believe you guys. I want it to happen. Oh, yeah, Marvin Parcells. Yeah, I'm not going with him. Sorry. Sorry. Now, I've never said this, and so maybe I'll say it right now. Per Twitter, some guy named Marvin Parcells that I've never heard. Click on signed at the top. At the top of what? I've never crashed out in recruiting, but it's Hyder. I can see it happen. Hit something at the top. Yeah. I'm not taking the word. If you're taking the word of Marvin's Pringle or whatever this guy's name is, it's not nothing against him, but I've never heard of him. I mean, he looks cool enough on his picture and everything. Marvin Pringle breaking. Okay. And the same tweet, he's got that holding off a late push from Tennessee. But he's talking about losing. He's talking about losing out on Clark. Marvin. It's I am gonna have to adjust my worry meter here. Let's have an instant poll. Would you rather have Justice Haynes come back to Michigan next year, or would you want Savion Hyder? You can't have both. I don't want to influence you on my own pick. So go ahead, leave some feedback. You want Hyder or do you want Haynes? You can't have both. I was at an 8 out of 100 worry meter, and I said I was going to bump it up every 5 minutes. I think I got to bump it up 25 spots. I am going to bump it up 22 spots. I am at a 30 out of 100 right now. So I ask, would you rather have Haynes or Hyder? So, Haynes is more proven. That's could be biasing people. I'm not trying to do that. Everybody's answering the same thing. That was going to be my answer too. Why isn't it streaming? I don't know. There's always got to be one. A little hedge for Ferris. Thank goodness we got Johnson. Yeah. All three will get snaps next year. What are you talking about? Why not have Haynes, Marshall, and Hyder as a three-headed monster? Uh, backs generally don't want to be involved in a three-headed monster. They want to be the man. Haynes. This isn't the spot that, it would be nice if Haynes was a wide receiver. Just run the wildcat. All the receivers they're throwing all this money at Hyder and throwing all this money. What do they have to pay a mint to keep Marshall? And now they're bringing in Haynes. All these wide receivers are like, I'm not coming in to block. Michigan's going to have Samaj Morgan and Marsh. Travis Johnson. Sorry. Andres, I was talking about you on Monday. Andres says you can't get Hyder and Haynes. Haynes needs to go to the league. So Marvin Pringle is saying on Twitter that Hyder's in, but nobody else is. And that's my mistake. Was I said I was going to stay here until. Actually, I said I was never going to stay around to Hyder. But here I am, and that's what's happening. Be dark soon. Yeah. Not not great, Bob. Is that that's from what was that show? That the TV series? It was a great one. Mad Men. One of my favorites. That's very good. Yeah, I think this is what we've been talking about. The receivers were a little shy about jumping in with both feet. Agents trying to get some last minute guaranteed money, maybe. Like I told you about Hyder, I saw someone who was all business, knew what he wanted, went through the process. I said, this guy, he's a real one. Let's just not say who we managed to get plenty of freshman snaps. Now we can't figure out the same running back. I don't know. It's not supposed to have been playing out for this long. Look, if you're call a 4 o'clock. I've got my own tweet from 8:19 coming up on Savion Hyder. Just what Michigan football needed. They are back. Sharon Moore, closer. Savion Hyder, a big-time get. That's not really the... No, there's nothing. It's not. It's just not happening at this minute. Let's take the Savion Hyder watch and let's call it something else. And we'll call it the now Savion Hyder worry number is up to 35. No, there's no reason to do that. So, to recap, for those of you that just might be tuning in and missed the 2:00 show, we've got, as we sit here, we're waiting on Savion Hyder. Now, we were waiting on Travis Johnson. He didn't make us wait that long. And he accepted the challenge. He's coming to Michigan. The wide receiver earlier in the day, Zion Robinson pulled off. And so you're getting a little bit worried. James Franklin blowing up these guys' phones. And now Hyder, you have the combination of Franklin trying to make a last-ditch effort with Hyder, and then you also have the Haynes news that could make you think, does Hyder really want to come in and deal with Haynes? I'm still saying, yeah, that he is. But, you know, Julian Walker is another one that we're waiting on. Hyder, Walker, Zion Robinson. I think we're going to be waiting a long time for him. And Clark and Walbridge. So 5 guys. That's the fast 5. I'm not promising to stay here until Walker signs because it might not be today. And Hyder's the one now that it's clicking down. He's 37 minutes. I mean, he's got a real flair for the dramatic. I mean, what's he doing at this point? I mean, patience is a virtue in running the ball and everything, but now here's more than one person saying that Julian Walker is postponed till tomorrow. You know, that's not good news. Julian Walker's their third highest rated player. His dad, he was committed to Michigan. His dad works for South Carolina, and now he's going to sleep on it? I don't like that. Haynes is the best running back in the nation, in my opinion. Now Seth is saying Hyder was supposed to sign around 4:30. Well, I saw 4. So if it's at 4:30, 8 minutes is fine. Eight minutes would be fine. 38 minutes, not fine. People talking about J.B. Brown per Pete Thamel. Like I said, if we get some real, we got Markel Pringle talking about Hyder. Now we got some guy named Pete Thamel. Now Pete Thamel says Michigan has dismissed special team coach J.B. Brown. He had been Michigan's special teams coach the past 2 seasons and has been at the school for 5 total years in various roles. Yeah, J.B. Brown, he had about as rough of a year as you could have. I think it would start with Dominic Zavada, although Zavada did make some kicks. He was off. Then you go to the punter, Hollenbach. He was off. Then you go to punt return, and that was off. That's too much off for JB. And so he gone. And so there you go. That's it. Austin's hearing on Julian Walker that South Carolina matched Michigan's offer, and now he's waiting on Michigan to counter. Well, here's my counter. Julian, bring your dad up. He wants to work for Michigan's in the weight room. He can work in Michigan's weight room. Not only whatever your offer is, we'll give you a job. That's it. Yeah, you wish there's no reason to pounce on JB Brown. I think we all expected it was going to happen. I think people are expecting more. Not Sharon more, expecting more carnage to the coaching staff. Doesn't mean necessarily that it's weird to fire. Is it weird to fire him on? It seems a little weird. Why not wait till tomorrow? I don't know. Because you can't. If Thamel gets the news, it doesn't matter. It could have happened. Could have fired him after the game. Where do you these updates? I no get update. I got no update. We're all doing the same thing. We're all waiting for him to go to the podium. I thought he was having a 4:00 news conference. Somebody's jumped in here and said it was 4:30. And then Pete Thamel, we need a little something to pass the time while we're waiting for Savion Hyder. But we're just not getting the Hyder news. That means I have to adjust my worry poll. It started out at 1 out of 100. It's now moved up to 8 minutes. I am now at a 42 out of 100. That's really, really worried, but it's 42 out of 100. Up from, you could say, yeah, but you started at 1 an hour ago. Now you're at 42. That's a dramatic change. Well, it's a fluid situation. I don't want to be worried. I don't want to sit around being worried about Savion Hyder. Let's read some feedback. We got some coming in here. Michigan can pay a quarterback coach $1 million with ticket prices being ridiculous. Yeah, I was the same on the postgame show that I did at the stadium, the one where the snow's blowing, and it looks like right before I went on, somebody took a wet rag and smacked it across my face because I'm like tearing up. It's not my best look. What was my point? Oh, I said, yeah, they need a quarterback coach. And then I thought about it. I've just been thinking, just like everybody else, about the game on Saturday. Chip Lindsey's your quarterback coach. Are you abandoning the plan? Because the plan was Lindsey, who developed Drake May, he came here to develop Bryce Underwood, and he's the offensive coordinator and quarterback coach. You have Sharon Moore as the head coach, who was an offensive coordinator. You have Steve Kasula, who was given the title of co-offensive coordinator, and Ron Bellamy is the passing game coordinator. So you got all these guys. And look, a lot of these titles, they just throw them on there. Hey, you get a title, kind of nice title. But the quarterback coach one, if you're bringing another quarterback coach in, whoever it is, you're taking whatever you thought was the initial plan and you are aborting it. You're saying, well, and so is that something that you want to do? Now, based on what you saw on Saturday, yes. They have to figure out if what they saw this year with the footwork, with the timing and the hips and the throwing on the run and the clock moving too fast in his head and the processing looking a little slower against a good competition. Is that just something that is going to come with time? Is that something that they see that they can work on, or that they need somebody on the outside coming in? And you might just immediately say, yes, 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 yes. The offseason, those quarterback gurus, the Jordan Palmers, the Tom Houses, the institute out there at USC where you're working on, your throwing motion and all those things in your feet. I would say for to me the sure thing, and Tom Brady's the one that's going to be getting in. You know, you ask Tom Brady. That's it. For what it's worth, I've got Josh Henschke at the Maize and Blue Review who is saying, what is he saying? Be patient. I am patient. I have been very patient. Uh-oh. I have to text my wife. You look hot. You look hot. Is that what I want to say? You look hot. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. They're going to a concert tonight. Get a little silly. You were a hot ant. All right. She doesn't know I'm doing this. Say it's true. Cliff is still 100% on Moore and Underwood train, but my biggest fear is Moore turns into RML Tucker and Underwood is just Joe Milton. Well, those two things that would be, as I sit here, you think I had not thought about the worst case scenario, Cliff, but there it is. That's about, I guess you could always come up with something worse, but that's about as bad as it gets. Railway is hearing rumors. Now, a well-placed rumor on signing day, could go a long way. Railway Journey says his rumor is that Hyder is signing on Friday. That would, to me, be terrible news. That's what Douglas is saying. That's bad news. Honey, we're not socks, but we make a great pair. I'll do it. Honey, we're not socks, but we make a great pair. Let's say, but you have a nice pair. I was going to add, which is true. See what she says to just your. Now I'm not getting anything from her either. She's like, what's this? Just flattery. Here it comes. I'm getting the 3 ellipsis. Oh boy, that's a dad joke, she said. She likes my dad joke. She likes him. Yeah, well, Joe Milton was a bust, though, and he was a bust in college. And Joe Milton wasn't the greatest thing since sliced bread. He looked like it. Breaking news, Michigan dismisses J.B. Brown. Okay, here we go. Should I even put this up? People trying to be funny? Because this is not funny. Either's this. Look, there's 5 guys out there that have not been signed. And I say rumors because I have not been able to substantiate them, but there have been folks that they see it from other people, and my watch is telling me it's time to stand. I got you. The idea that Julian Walker could be waiting till tomorrow. Zion Robinson's waiting to God knows when. Hyder could also be waiting. And anybody else? Wahlberg, we're waiting on him. Maybe he's waiting till tomorrow. And Clark, some guy who said that Hyder was, he was right about Hyder, but he said Clark was flipping. That's where we're at. We'll wait 10 more minutes. Maybe we'll get the official that he's waiting till tomorrow. Let me ask you, with my fantasy league playoffs coming up, what should I do? I've got Lamar Jackson. Should I be looking for something else? Pretty crazy. I'm just scrolling or rolling. There he is, Hyder. Not really happening. People are saying they're going to need that Savion Hyder confirmation. People are looking for the confirmation, and then you're just not getting it. I don't know. He did not have, and so he was pretty playing his cards, keeping his cards close to his vest, and so maybe he wasn't doing any IG or YouTube. Yeah, so what a lot of people are thinking from Hyder is maybe he's getting a little bit of depth chart blues, little Haynes rumor. What's up with that? And you have to ask yourself, you're a Michigan fan, are you really thinking that it would be best if Haynes came back if they lost Hyder? Did Michigan, how did they consider it? You know, the worst part about this is it could be, this is not the one you want. This is not the door. Because if Haynes comes back and they lose Hyder, you don't want that. I don't want that, but, it could happen. Haynes is a hell of a football player. And he is proven. And so it wouldn't be that bad. And he's got a great synergy with Jordan Marshall. But obviously what you don't want is Haynes to be like, no, I'm going pro. Because he thought about this money. They're making him a big, but and then Hyder goes. Were they trying to be up front with him, signing this deal? Maybe they should have pushed all that back and waited till Hyder signed, and then came over the top with this deal that Haynes couldn't refuse. Now, that would not have been nice towards Hyder. In fact, I'd be mad as hell if that was the way it went down if I was Hyder, but Michigan would be like, you'll be all right. Yep, we don't know. Doc says he sees 6 unsigned with Jalen. Yeah, I thought I saw Pyle signed, though. I guess I'll have to go back through it, Doc, because I thought that I saw that, but maybe what I saw, maybe my eyes were deceiving me, right? So let's start at the beginning. Am I really going to go through 28 players? I guess so. See how fast I can do it. Carter Meadows, that was big. I'm ready to bet. In fact, I even said it on here about Pyle. So, I mean, what was I seeing? With my eyes? Am I saying something because that's when I talked about that brick. That was the player that I was looking at. I have to admit, I like Tarek Money. He's doing the go to sleep gesture. I kind of like. Smigel looks like he put on some weight. I like that. Got some guns on him. And Malachi Lee, nice. Jordan Russell. Where's that? Oh, here, this could have been the one. Building our future, Jalen Pyle. With a brick. Michigan football. So, yeah, I think so. Yeah, Kelvin Russell is out there. Talked about him way earlier. Hyder, Walker, Robinson, Walbridge, Clark. Yep, that's the 5. Uh-oh. What are we betting on? All right. I am going to. Yeah, here's the Michigan football site. I mean, you can argue with me. I guess it's not coming in very good. If you can see the name or not. Maybe sometimes the camera. Pyle. Take my word for it. Well, yeah. I'm just not sure. Michigan is, here, I'll play a little, I don't know if it's devil's advocate or just being a jerk. Maybe they shouldn't have been so upfront about all this. Yeah, you want, Clark isn't gone to Tech yet. They want him. They're trying to flip him. There's 5. We've got Maize and Blue Review update on one of the 5 that is still out there. And I'm going to tease you, and then we'll see if I can give you the information. I'd say right now that people around the program believe the pendulum has swung back Michigan's way a bit for this player. And the Wolverines have countered that push with one of their own. Still some turbulence to get through, and not a slam dunk. But those I speak to believe that the odds of him sticking are increasing. Now, it's one of these 5 guys. Now, it's probably the one that you think is least likely. So there's my hint. There's my hint. Gonna be some good news. Not Russell. Hang in there. So yeah, I don't know. I'll take this to 3:00. Michigan's got 5 guys out there that Adrian Clark is a Virginia safety that James Franklin is making a push for. We'll see. Marky Walbridge, I don't know what he's waiting on. He's just out there. I haven't seen anything like, oh, he's got a time or he's kicking it to tomorrow. But there are some guys that are kicking it to tomorrow. And that includes Julian Walker and possibly Savion Hyder, who could even be waiting till Friday. And then that gets us to Zion Robinson, who pushed away and was looking at Texas and Stanford. But Michigan is back working hard with Zion. Hyder hardly ever talks to the media. He's good as gold. That's nice. Why would Hyder be scared of Haynes? Dude, these guys look at because Haynes is, along with Marshall, You don't. There's some NFL teams and some college teams that run three backs, but mostly you have a starting running back. And look at when Haynes this year, they were all talking about, oh, it's 1 and 1A, oh, even reps and all this. It wasn't like that. Haynes came out when he needed a blow, and Marshall just got some scraps. How many guys got carries behind Haynes in Marshall? One of the games were blowouts, maybe against Central. You got a little Jesper Parker in there late, cuz. That doesn't happen. So if you want to play immediately and you feel like you at least want to get in there, you might feel like you could beat out one, but you feel like I'm going to beat out two. I'm just guessing because he could be back and he could be in. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I haven't seen anything about. I haven't seen anything about height or waiting. It's just people. It's people on here. Did I say Zion Williamson instead of Zion Robinson? I bet Zion Williamson could have been a pretty good football player. But he's so good in basketball. I mean, Zion, the way he was putting on weight, maybe they make him a defensive end. Hey, the original, tell Hyder, not me. Tell Michigan, who's opening up to coffers to try to bring him back. Tell him. That's it. So we'll see about the 5. I'm worried about, let's see, in order now. Julian Walker in South Carolina. That's worrisome. I am worried next about Zion Robinson. Although Michigan is back in the game with him, this is still happening. Nothing imminent, but the pendulum has swung. At number 3, I am going to be worried about Hyder now. I mean, he's such a big time player, and that it was supposed to happen at 4 or 4:30. Now it's after 5. That is worrisome. Yes, my worry meter is up to 67. Excellent. And then Clark, I'm worried about, but 4th on that list, and the 5th would be Walbridge. I mean, where's Walbridge even going from Massachusetts? Is that UMass trying to flip him? It's 4 in the Central. Early. Dude, he's from Virginia. I mean, did he take a trip to the Central Time Zone? Johnson's in. Yeah, so Sharon Moore did not have a good game on Saturday. Michigan did not have a good game on Saturday. Bryce Underwood did not have a good game on Saturday. Michigan finished 9-3, but I am not in the camp of firing Sharon Moore. I think he has to make the playoffs next year, or he'll probably lose Underwood and he'll be gone. But this doesn't make any, to do it now doesn't really make any sense. Michigan will conduct a search for a new special teams coordinator. His name is Julian Walker Sr. Welcome in. Let's go. No strength and conditioning coach. Why not? It's quite a rise from the strength and conditioning at South Carolina to now Michigan special teams coach. But let's do it. Bill is saying that it's happened with Savion Hyder. And I still don't see that, so I'm sorry. It's nice. And you tease me, Bill, but you also, Bill, look a little bit like this guy that was on here, Markel Pringle or whatever. You might be a little better looking than him. Yeah, one more year. Level 1 throwing a rumor out there. The rumor he is putting out there is that Michigan has made a counter offer to keep Zion Robinson, not Williamson, Zion Robinson in the class. I am going to say that sounds accurate. But what I need to hear from you, level 1, is what's going on with Hyder. That's what's up. And I guess we just don't know. And we're not going to know. Top recruit Zion Robinson delays Michigan signing. That was trending. No, I'm not looking for trending. I'm looking for Hyder. And no. Sorry. I think we're just at a spot here where it's like we're at the fishing hole. We just keep throwing it in there, and you're wondering, like, let's just pack it up. Pack it up. Pack it in. Michigan has needed 3 running backs. Sino wants a quarterback coach, DB coach, wide receiver coach, strength and conditioning coach. We need big hires. Write the checks. Well, I think that Lamar Morgan is safe. I think the quarterback coach, are you willing to bust up the plan that you had that should be more than a 1-year plan? It sounds easy until you play it out in your head about bringing in a quarterback coach. So you might as well fire Chip Lindsey if you're bringing in. I don't know. That's what it feels like to me, because you're saying, hey, Chip, we brought you in. You worked with Drake May. You've got this 2-3 year plan. After 1 year, it didn't work. We're going to abort. We're going to bring somebody else in, and they are going to coach him. And so whatever your plan was, now you're going to have to share that with quarterback coach X. And there we go, because we're now giving him the task of developing him. So I don't know. That sounds a little bit too tricky for me. It sounds good, but it also sounds tricky. I've seen a lot of people, out on Wink and, but not out on the DB coach. I know when it comes to Bellamy, people don't care that he came in 21 and had a great 3-year run and helped develop Roman Wilson and Kojo and Marsh this year. They want more. I don't know. Was Ron Bellamy over there saying, hey, let's just throw for 63 yards? His guys were running free. Ron Bellamy was showing your tape. He's like, Marsh is wide open. No, I cannot. Chip could be the OC, which he could laser focus in on. It's a pretty good question, so you have the dual role, but don't worry about the quarterback anymore. Just call the plays. Hyder is as important as Najee Harris was back in 2017. Najee signed with Bama, and then they won the national championship. What's the latest is that we're waiting on 5 guys. Savion Hyder, who was supposed to make an announcement at 4 o'clock or 4:30. It's now after 5, and we've heard nothing from him. And so he has cold feet. He has something that's going on. And you would think that the news about Justice Haynes, the possibility of him coming back, could be affecting this delay. That seems very natural to assume that if you're following this, but who knows? Somebody said maybe he was thinking he was on West Coast time, even though he's on the East Coast. That seems a little far-fetched to me. I mean, people hated Calvin Russell, who delayed his decision in committing to Michigan by an hour and then went to Syracuse. And now he's back open. People don't want him because they say he's not a good fit with the culture. But Hyder, people aren't losing any sleep over yet. My panic meter is at it was a joke. It wasn't at 6-7, but it is at 55 now. Hyder's trying to max out. I don't know what he's trying to do. If he's, did James Franklin say, whatever Michigan's paying you, we'll pay you double. And we'll give you the ball. We'll guarantee you being the starter game 1. He's going to be like, hang on a second. Sharon. That's the update. Other than that, Michigan, Zion Robinson looked like he was gone, but Michigan's right back in there working him. I don't know anything about Marky Walbridge, Massachusetts. He's just out there. Maybe he's going to sign later. Andre Clark, he could be gone. He's another one that Franklin is trying to flip, and it didn't work with Travis Johnson, so maybe he's taking that money and throwing it at Clark. He's the other one to watch. And the other one is Julian Walker, who has delayed his decision. And he was always one to keep an eye on. His dad works for South Carolina, and now he is punted at least till tomorrow. So that doesn't feel good. And he was as highly rated as anyone except, was he a 5-star? I think he was. No, he wasn't. Hyder and Meadows, but he was the highest 4-star, damn near 5-star Walker. And so that's where we're at. Hopefully Michigan gets Mr. Walker and the rest. But now we just have to sit back and wait. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you. We're going to do this over on the Maize and Blue Review. And we'll talk with you on Friday. So long, everybody.